All right, the first thing you want to get your hands on is an old refrigerator. In this case, I happen to get my hands on one of those old Coca-Cola, convenience store refrigerators. And the very first thing I did was I just took the inside panels off and gave it a thorough cleaning. I don't want there to be any little nooks and crannies for unwanted bacteria to grow. I also put strings and thermostats throughout the entire refrigerator just to see where my airflow was. I wanted to see if I had any particular areas that were a little colder than others, or if the airflow was a little stronger, like in the back or in the front. That would help me gauge on how I needed to build my chamber. Every chamber is different, and I'm going to tell you they kind of carry a life of their own, and so you're really going to have to experiment with yours. The first thing I needed to get was a hygrostat. This is an Auber hygrostat. It measures the humidity. This switch on the left is the dehumidifier, and this plug on the right is the humidifier. What I like about the Auber control is that you can blast this thing to your smartphone and control the inside operation of your curing chamber with your smartphone. And so you can control basically the entire setup of it, which I find to be incredibly convenient. So that's the hygrostat. That's the first thing you need. You need something to control the humidity, a little bit of airflow, and then obviously temperature. And so what that control is right there, that's a computer fan with a dimmer switch. And then this right here is a Johnson control temperature control, basically. So this is going to control the temperature in my drying chamber. And as you can see, everything's just hooked up to the very back. And so the refrigerator is connected to the temperature control. The humidifier and dehumidifier are connected to the hygrostat, and that's going to control both of those elements. Now, my unit is in an area where it receives direct sunlight, so I needed to cover the front panel because it's glass, so the fat doesn't go rancid. But let's start from the top, and you can kind of get an idea of what we're looking at. It's not very complicated. So what I do is I have 4 wires coming in. 2 wires are going to go to the dehumidifier and the humidifier, and then the other 2 wires, or 3 wires, is going to go to the temperature control, humidity control, and the fan. And basically I just had to drill 1 hole. I put the wires in through the top, and this little portal was already there, and so all I did was I just fed it into the unit. Now before I come back in and put some of that great stuff foam, I wanted to make sure that it's exactly the way that I wanted it. Now, so all my plugs are coming into the top, nice and neat. This unit had a fan that was running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I found that that fan was putting off way too much air. So what I did was I unplugged the capability of the fan, I removed the fan, and in its place, that's where I have the computer fan. So it's just a low-speed computer fan that has a variable control, and then what that does is it actually keeps some air on top of the condenser coils. About midway in the chamber, this is where I have the sensor for the hygrostat. This is what's reading the humidity. Behind it, I have the sensor for the temperature control, and this is what's monitoring the temperature. So basically, when it gets to the parameters in which I set it, it either cuts or turns off the dehumidifier or the humidifier, and then same thing with the fridge. Now, both of these units are kind of big. The EverDry that I'm using is the bigger of the 2 models. I want to say it's the 2200. And the unit that I'm using to put humidity in the room is just a Cool Mist ultrasonic humidifier, and so both of those are controlled by the hygrostat. Now you're going to notice that your chamber is going to act completely different when it's empty versus when it has meat in it. All right, and so when you get started, you may want to start off small, because the minute you put meat in it, your humidity is going to spike. And where I live in an area of high humidity, and so I can't necessarily leave the door open or drill holes into the side. So I needed something to remove the humidity inside the chamber, and I found that EverDry did quite well. Because I don't have any holes on the side, I do have to open my chamber once or twice a day, which is no problem because I'm constantly checking on it. So that's one fridge that we converted. Here's another fridge. This is going to be more your typical refrigerator. Small, simple unit, and once again you're going to see a temperature control that's on the right and a hygrostat that's on the left. As I open it up, you're going to see that same thing. those units are going to get wired right into the very top. So in this case, I had to, drill a hole right through the very top of this refrigerator. And in the center, this is the divider between the freezer and the fridge. I just cut it open. It was really nothing more than just foam as a foam layer. But there was a couple of passageways for air to circulate, some circulation chambers that I needed to make sure that I kept open. So I sealed it all off with tape. I kept the chambers open. And then there's a couple vents here on the top that blow air. So in the back of the fridge, you have two areas right there and at the bottom that blow air out. And then those vents right there suck air in, and that's how it monitors the airflow throughout your fridge. It was an interesting situation that happened with this particular fridge because I needed to put new shelving in, and wow, that got crazy. But you're going to see right here, all the vents are still accessible. I've got them on low so they don't pump out too much air, and everything's wired down. I like things to be tidy, so I just kind of taped all the wires down to the side. In this chamber, we have 4 wires coming in. One goes to the humidifier, one goes to the dehumidifier, and then one is the temperature control and one is the humidity control. Those are the sensors for both of those. So notice the EverDry, I'm using the model 1100 in this one, so that's the smaller one. And right here, there's the temperature control, and then wired to the side of it, about midway down, that's the humidity control right there in the back. The hygrostat and the temperature control that I'm using here is one from a company called Inkbird. Fairly cheap, $35 a unit. Whereas the Arbor, that's a little more expensive. That's about $170 a unit. But definitely worth the money. So you're going to see right here what I did, and this is crazy. So this is where you get to learn from my mistakes. Apparently through the side of a refrigerator, you have these tubes that circulate the gas that keeps this thing cold. Well, guess what I did? In the process of drilling my shelvings, I was on my very last hole when all of a sudden I heard just this quiet whisper of what sounded like gas escaping the very essence of this refrigerator. And through these photos you can see exactly what I did. As I was drilling my hole, I just nicked one of these little gas lines, and all of my gas went out. So I had to fix it. How do you fix it? Well, here you go. I had to wrap some very thin wire around the hole, all the way around, and you can see what I'm talking about right here. It's a little bit better, so that when I put a compound around it, it wouldn't necessarily obstruct the hole itself. And so I came back, put a compound all the way around it, let it cure for about 24 hours, and then I had to fill it back up with gas, and then finally re-drill the hole and put a plate on the very back of it so that it was all. But within a day or two, it was back in business, and everything worked out the way that it should have. But I got lucky because there's these tubes that are just kind of throughout the entire thing. So as you can see, it's quite simple. I've just got a box in which I can control the temperature and the humidity, and this makes for a fermentation chamber when I'm fermenting below 70 degrees. And also makes for a drying chamber because I'm drying at about 55 degrees. Let's look at the hygrostat and the temperature control one more time. This unit on the left, this is the hygrostat, and in it I've got plugged the humidifier and the dehumidifier. So my value is set at 85% humidity, and I think I have a 3-degree value difference. So when it gets down to 82 or 87, it clicks on. And then the temperature control is set at 55 degrees Fahrenheit. So notice currently it's at 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and the refrigerator, which is plugged to it, is active and working. And so these two both allow me to control the units as they are preset with the parameters in line. And so they're very simple, but they are an absolute must. So if you got any questions on how to put together a chamber, let me know. It's not that complicated. Like I said, it's just basically a box in which you can control the temperature and the humidity. And there's a lot of really, really great options, a lot of really cool equipment out there to help you do it a little more efficiently. These 2 wires go to the temperature control and the humidity control. So, like I said, very simple. I know you could do it. If you're watching this video, hopefully you get encouraged. Send me a note if you got any questions. But thanks a lot for watching. Be sure to click that icon to subscribe and stay tuned for more videos. See you later.